Hey everybody, Mike Fifer, Fifer Hobby Supply. Today we're going to do update 63, and not a whole lot, I always say it, not a whole lot to it, but it's the best I could do with the time that I've had to work on the layout. I have some other things going that I'll show you, which will be on the next video. I don't have them completed yet, but I do have one thing completed, and we're going to take a look at it right now. Okay, everybody, this is what I whipped up for getting the logs from the pond up into the sawmill. I need to get it painted, of course, and I need to put something that resembles a chain that goes down in the water there and would go through a loop on the end and come back up into the mill. Or I have seen mills where they take the chain down, hook it to the log, drag it up, and they take the chain back down. There is a little walkway on the right-hand side of the slide. I'm not an expert on sawmills, so this is what I came up with, and this is what it's going to be. And then you can see the sawmill itself is there, and then it goes into the milling building. And the milling building has a door out where the track will be to send lumber out. Okay, everybody, here we are back. I didn't have my phone out here when I started this, but the way I do this water is I put black in the very bottom, and then I put a little bit of this gray in there, and it doesn't matter what colors you used, and it depends on how you want the water to look. And then, of course, I put the light blue around the outside edge up to where the dirt is, and then that's two other colors. So I've had the brown color at the top, the blue color, the teal color was in between and at the top of the blue. And what I do is I just take the bottle, hang on a minute here, I just take the bottle and I turned it upside down and I just poured it in the bottom, then I spread it around, then I take the I took the gray and I just put a squirt all the way around the edge. Then I took a brush and just stippled that in until I got the colors that I wanted. Same thing with the blue. Then I took the teal next and put it around. Then I stippled that into the gray. Then I took the blue and stippled that into the teal. And you get the idea, and so on and so on. And then this will all blend to the ground texture here. You'll also notice that I have my burner there, my sawdust burner, and I have cleaned all the plaster away where it's going to sit, and I have run the wire for the ember glow down through the board. But we're going to get to that in a little bit. But I was doing this, and I thought, I really should tell people how it's done, because everybody jumps on me because I don't tell people how things are done. But with the amount of acrylic paint that I put in there and stippled into each other, and if I let that dry, it will definitely seal the plaster. You've got to make sure you don't have any cracks or pinholes or anything, or that stuff will run right out of there. But there's foam underneath that. But the thing you have to be aware of is right here at the edge. You want to make sure that it seals at the edge, and then you want to put a tape on there that goes across that's going to adhere well. And I'm going to try duct tape this time. But anyway, that's how the water's done, and we'll get to the building here in just a bit. Okay, everybody. This was the log ramp that I came up with. It's not real prototypical, and I don't know much about sawmills, but I do know that they used to use a chain with a bunch of hooks in it, and the guy that's in the water would push the log over to the base of the incline, and the grippers would grip the log and start pulling it up the ramp and eventually into the sawmill and be cut up. The sawmill cuts it up, they send it out over to the milling building, and the milling building will make it into whatever sizes it needs to be, and they will ship it out via rail underneath here. I think I've covered that already. But another thing you may notice is there's no light cords hanging out. I have made the holes and put all the lights for these buildings down through the foam, Now all I have to do is lift them up, put some color under there, put some grass under the buildings, and do a little bit of scenic work. But I think I'm going to wait until I get the water poured, and that's going to require all of that acrylic paint to dry for some extended period of time. By the way, I am going to super glue that down. It's kind of sticking up. Gonna super glue that down. And anyways, if you get down here at eye level, you can see that the end of that is just going to be barely into the water, which is about what I believe they would do. And we'll see how it turns out. Okay, these are the trees that I made for the log pond and the sawmill. And I would say they're about 3 inches long, around 3 inches long each one. Some of these will be floating and some will be going up into the sawmill. And the way I made these is I took some sticks, and it doesn't matter what kind of sticks they are, and cut them to length. Then I coated them with Elmer's glue with a brush, and then I rolled them or sprinkled some of the Earth Blend Woodland Scenery material on them to give them a texture. Then I'm going to tell you to do it the right way. I did it the wrong way, but then I would put some of this panel line accent color, black, basically wash them with black. It can be acrylic or it could be this, after they're dry, of course. Then I took some of this color, and I don't know what color this is right here, but you can see that it's kind of a brownish color. And I dry brushed over the top of them. And I know it's really hard to see. Let me see if I can get a light down here. There you can kind of see what they look like. But I thought the texture on the logs came out really nice. So at some point I'm going to try pouring that thing. And I don't know if that'll be tonight or not, but we'll see. Okay, everybody, I had a little malfunction with some of the color in the water, but I'm going to see how it dries. Since that's all really wetted down, I think it's going to darken up a little bit. But there is some scenery material under the structure. The structure's in place. The burner's in place. Of course, I need to wipe off, whatever foliage got on it. Got the building in place. And that's pretty much what it's going to look like, with the exception of pouring the pond and putting the logs in. Okay, gang. I can't remember last night if I took a picture of the logs going up, but we're ready to pour the pond. And to be sure that we get a relatively good seal, or a excellent seal actually, I sanded this edge right here smooth, and I'm going to use duct tape, simply because the glue on it is much thicker and will probably seal better. Masking tape has a tendency to let go. So we're going to use that. I'm going to wipe this down with alcohol before I put up the tape. Then we're going to mix up the water and put it on there. So I used my sanding block, got my tape ready to go, and hold on one second. I am using, and everybody's going to ask, and I am using this. However, this poor gentleman passed away, and this product is no longer available. But it is a 2-part epoxy mix, or resin mix, which is these 2 parts. And by the way, if any of you have it, you can see that this bottle is totally clear. But if this sets for a long time, it gets a white, hard residue inside of it. Looks like it's no good anymore. But if you soak it for about a half hour in hot water, and I mean really hot water, it'll go back to its all liquid state, just like this is. So we're going to use this. We're going to tint it with a little bit of acrylic paint. And I'm going to try and set up the camera so that I can show you how that is done. Well, I'm back. I've also forgot to tell you that always be prepared. I have I have an old shower curtain on the floor just in case it leaks, and I have a towel all wadded up on top of my car card box here in case it leaks. Because I can tell you that if it does leak, there's nothing more messy than having all that go on the floor. But we will control that with these two things here, and hopefully I will not have that issue. Okay, I just wanted to show you that we have our duct tape on there, and you can see where I have pushed it down along the edge there, and it seems to be making a excellent seal. And we put another piece of tape under it just in case it does leak through the tape. I tell you, take my word for it, you're better safe than sorry. Okay, what we have here is some Micromark mixing containers. We just happen to have these because we used to make some of our own parts and castings with resin. So we had a bunch of these left over. But we're going to use these to mix in today simply because you can get down inside of them and stir and scrape the edges, because you want to make sure you get it 100% mixed. And it is the mixture on these. The mixture on these is 2 to 1. So 2 parts of the big bottle, 1 part of the little bottle. So here we go. I'm gonna try and mix enough. Let's see, 1, 2. We're gonna try and mix as much as we can. We may have to mix this in 2 batches, but I'm gonna do. Let me turn to ounces here. We have 3, 6, 9 would be at the very top of this. So we're gonna do 3 ounces of this. You can see that I am slightly over 3 ounces, but I'm at 3 ounces. I'm going to pour that in there. We're going to do another 3 ounces. Hang on here. Another 3 ounces. And before I get too carried away here, we're going to put these on, because I don't like getting this all over myself. Not that you're planning on it, but invariably it happens. So we're putting on some gloves. And I keep these out here in case I do painting or anything that's like this, okay? Now we need 3 ounces of the activator. So I'm on my ounces. Let's go up to 3 ounces, just a tiny bit over 3 ounces. Put the lid back on the activator, put the lid back on the resin, and going to pour the activator in another 3 ounces, which should take us almost to the top of this container. Now, I do not know if this will be enough, but we can always certainly pour more. Now what you want to do is you want to mix this and until it becomes almost clear. And this stuff is pretty old, so we're going to see what we can get here. And of course I filled it pretty full, so it's going to be pretty hard to get it to want to mix, but we'll get there. But the container says stir well and stir well and stir well. And when you think you're done, stir well. And we can see, or I can see in here, that it's trying to mix, but it's just not quite there yet, of course. So we're just going to keep mixing, because I think it says to mix for 2 minutes or something. And during that process, you want to take your stick. This is why we're using a container with flat sides, because you want to take your stick and you want to go around the outside and make sure you're getting the two components off the side of the container and getting them both mixed together, that you're not leaving one away from the other, if that makes sense. I can see that it's all kind of a one color. There's no, what would you call it? When you look down in it, you don't see it looking stringy. Now, I'm going to say at this point, that's pretty good. But now, nobody really likes their water totally clear. I mean, most people don't. So we're going to fix that. And this is just regular acrylic, and I'm only putting in drops. There's 4 drops of kind of a gray, and I'm just winging this. And here's 4 drops of a gray blue. Maybe. Maybe it is. A little more than 4 drops. So in fact, I'm not going to let that go in there. That stuff's a little bit thick. But then we just start mixing. And we mix it until it gets to be what we want it to look like. And there again, being able to scrape the sides is a good thing. And this stuff, you know, this color looks like it doesn't want to mix. And that one that I poured in there that was kind of hard, we may have trouble getting it to mix. But if nothing else, it'll go down to the bottom of the pond. But you can see that we're getting kind of a murky color out of it. Yeah, I shouldn't have poured that one in there that was hard. The blue-gray. It's okay. Those particles will probably settle to the bottom. Besides that, we're going to make it a little bit darker. And I think it's not taking much color right now. So I think we're going to go with some blue. Kind of 3 drops of that. And I'm going to go with a little more of the gray. That's about 6 more drops. But we're just not getting the color I'm looking for. Now we're looking murky. Now we're starting to look murky. And I'm there again. I'm just going to keep mixing and mixing and mixing. Now, if I was pouring a river or something, I may not like all these particles that this non-thin paint left. Of course, these are old paints. But if you use a thin paint like the gray paint I was putting in there, you probably wouldn't get all these ugly particles in there. I don't know if you guys can see them. But in our case, this is a log pond. And it's going to be kind of blue, but it's going to be kind of murky. I'm going to continue to mix this, and I'm not real happy with the mixture of the paint in there. But it's as good as we're going to get, and I would assume that a log pond would have some kind of particles and stuff floating in it. So let me move the camera, and we're going to pour. Okay, here we are. And once again, I'm going to make sure that my edge is still sealed, which it is. And I'm going to get the resin. And we're going to pour. And I'm going to try and get on the other side here. And I'm going to pour. Hang on a minute. We're going to pour down a stick here just to try and keep some bubbles out of it. And we're trying to pour down a stick, but it doesn't like it. So there's not much sense in the stick, but now I don't know what to do with it. But it's running down the side of the cup. So we're just going to go with that. And it's beginning to look like we're going to have just about the right amount of resin. Now, I don't know how I planned that, but we're going to set the cup aside. And you can see that it's pretty full. It's kind of a gray blue. And we just covered the end of our log grabber, which is exactly what I was looking for. And actually, it just turned out that way just by luck. Now I'm going to show you, this is the trick that we're going to use to get out the bubbles. And what you do, and you don't want to set your layout on fire or anything, but what you want to do is just go over the top of this. You don't want to heat the top of it, okay? You don't want to burn the top of it. You don't want to burn anything around here, but you want the fumes from the torch to just suck those bubbles up to the surface. And to me, that actually looks pretty good. And we're going to put some waves and stuff on top of that. Our resin is now starting to flow out over here. I guess where there's a will, there's a way. Nothing like viewing a mistake on the video, but I should have known I shouldn't have poured quite so much in there. And I'm going to have to find out a better way to get it out of there. Let's see here. We're going to use our mixing one to scoop some out. I'll scoop a little more out. Holy moly, I miscalculated that. Being level. That's good right there. No, be prepared. Like I said, have some stuff around and be prepared for when you do make a mistake, as I have made. It's going to be what it is. Let's go back to the torch. It's looking pretty good. I can see that the ground, the level is below where it was running out right here. We've got kind of a mess down here, but we'll have to take care of that with scenery materials. Like I say, not much we can do about it now. What do they say? You can't cry over spilled milk. And we got a little bit of spilled milk. The good news is we don't have any leaking out the front. And that's always the big concern. And I don't see anything leaking anywhere else, and the hole underneath the building is way back here. So I believe that we're going to be okay here. And I really don't see too many more bubbles coming out of there. You have to, you guys probably can't see it, but looking over the surface, I can see the bubbles that are coming up. all we can do is let this dry and come back and see what it looks like in another day. So I might make a video out of this, and we can come back after it's dry, and the next video I'll show you guys how to add texture to the top of it and so forth. I don't know if these logs will float in there. We're going to hope they do. We will find out. It's kind of looking like it's going to sink. It definitely took on all of the resin, and it's barely on top of the resin. So we're going to let that cure up a little bit before we try putting any more logs in there. The idea is I'm going to put another log over here, and I'm going to have a guy standing on a log with a pole getting ready to push logs onto the loader here. So as I said, and that's not running under there anymore, so I think we've accomplished as much as we can do for right now. I'll come back, and if I can, I'll show you guys when I drop the logs into it when it starts to stiffen up just a little bit. So that's it for now. Okay, gang. It finally got tacky enough that I could put the logs in without the stuff covering up the log. Let me get something to point with here. I don't know if I mentioned it, but what's going to happen is this log is getting ready to go up in. There'll be a guy standing on this log here with a pole pushing this where it needs to go. These are just waiting to go. And that's pretty much it. And actually the ground over here where this overflowed doesn't look too bad. I don't think it's going to take much ground cover to cover it up. But I've got to wait till the whole surface is dry, then touch up paint around the edge, put some foliage around the edge, put some foliage under there, and you get the idea. But pretty much it's ready to go with the exception of ripples on the water and so forth. So we're going to end this one and call it good. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed 63, and I hope you'll return. And I also hope that you will take a look at the vintage page. I'm still adding stuff, not daily, but every few days. And I have some pretty cool stuff going on there here in the next few days. And we only have about 15 or maybe 20 locomotives left to put on there. And I don't know when I'm going to get to that. But nevertheless, the vintage page has some things that you may like, you may not like, but check it out and see. And as usual, thanks for watching.